Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. Thank you for joining me. Today's video, we're going to make some cookies that I've been wanting to make for a long while. It's a nostalgic cookie for me. It's my favorite bakery cookie growing up. And today, it's still early in the morning. I already have dinner going in the crock pot over there. So I have a long day to fill up with a baking project. So this cookie is something that takes multiple steps. So we're going to do this process together today. So the recipe that I'm going to be using is from this cookbook. And it is these cookies. So the first thing I did this morning when I came into the kitchen was I took out some margarine from the fridge. I left it on the counter to come to room temperature. And now that I got things in order and I have my coffee, the first thing we'll be making is the actual cookie. So let me get all my stuff out, my machine, my ingredients, and I'll take you along with me. And we're gonna have fun making my favorite childhood bakery cookie. Okay, first thing we're gonna start off with is adding our margarine into the bowl. And actually the first thing was that I preheated my oven to 350. And now I can add the margarine. Next thing will be a 3/4 cup of sugar. Now I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And now we're going to mix this until it's light and fluffy. So it's going to start off looking yellow because of the margarine. And the longer you mix it, let it go. Let it go until it's really light and fluffy. Okay, I'm going to help this out a little bit. I'm going to push the margarine off the sides and the center because we're almost there. Can you see how light this has become? It's amazing to see this. Okay, I'm gonna add in, while this is mixing, I'm gonna add in 2 egg yolks, some vanilla extract. Once that is combined, I'm gonna add in 2 cups of flour until it's crumbly, and then I'll add 2 tablespoons of orange juice. Okay, the recipe says to transfer this into a large heavy-duty piping bag fitted with a piping tip. They called it a large open star tip. So I have this tip over here. It's from my set. It's labeled, this size is 13, open star. So this is what I'll be using today. Because I don't have a heavy-duty piping bag, I'm gonna just use a heavy-duty Ziploc bag. I'm gonna cut over the end so that the tip can come through, and we're gonna fill this up. Okay, so I removed the bowl from the machine, and I removed the beaters to make this easier to do the transfer. So usually when I do buttercream or icing, I like to transfer it into the piping bag using a cup, a tall glass cup. Since this is way more than I'm dealing with than a buttercream or icing, I am going to use my cookie jar as my utensil to make the transfer a lot easier. So I'm gonna cut off the end on the bag with a pair of scissors. I hope I cut it enough. I'm gonna open it up, and I'm gonna take my tip, plus it comes with 2 additional parts to secure the tip in place. Now this piece will go underneath the tip and inside the bag. Ooh, cut it a bit too much. Okay, hopefully we won't have an explosion. And then you take the second piece and you're going to put it outside the bag and secure it in place. Nice and tight. Okay. Now, what I like to do is I bend the tip upwards. I'm careful not to rub it against the bag so that the bag doesn't tear. And I'm going to drop it into my cup, or now it is my cookie jar. And I'm going to fold the top over. This will help keep the edges clean. And now we're just going to start transferring this into the bag. And by using the cup, you can then smooth your spatula over the edge, and then your spatula is clean. You got all of that dough into the bag. Gonna get all of this goodness so that we can get the most cookies out of this. Okay. Let me rinse this bowl to make the cleanup a little bit easier later. That's what I like to do. Clean all my utensils and supplies as I finish using them to make the cleanup a lot easier. Okay, now that I have this ready, we're gonna flip the top back up and we're gonna close this off. And now we have a piping bag. It'll be a little bit hard to use because the bag over here is wider than the top of the tip. So it's going to be a little bit of a struggle. Hopefully it won't be too much of a struggle, but let's see how it goes. It's the first time I'm doing this. If this doesn't work out too well, I'll know to buy larger piping bags so I can do that in the future with a proper piping bag, but we're going to try it like this time. Now I have 2 baking sheets here. I'm going to line them with parchment paper. Okay, I'm going to work with one at a time. Now let me read the instructions to make sure that I know what to do. So it says, transfer dough to a large heavy-duty piping bag fitted with a large open star tip. Holding the piping bag upright with 2 hands, pipe the cookie batter in a small and tight ring, piping inward toward the center of the circle to close all of the circle. Okay, let's try this. Let's see how it goes. And what I'll do first, I want this to stay flat on the cookie sheet. So a little trick to do that is to bunch it up and then open it up. Now if you go and smooth it out, it'll stay in place. Now let's try this. It's exploding. Let's see if we can do it like this. It's not coming out. It is coming. Very, very slowly. Nope. I am not liking this. Let's see, maybe I'll just work with a little bit of dough down there at a time. Not all of it. Let's see. I'm gonna push some of the batter up to the top. Now let's see. Okay, that one's very small, not a nice shape. Let me see if I can bring you guys a little bit closer. Okay, let's try this again. Okay, I'm gonna start off piping. See how it's moving? It's making it very hard. Okay, that one's better, but I need to get them a little bit bigger, I feel like, because they're very small. And usually the cookies are a little bit bigger. Okay, that one's more like it. Okay, definitely more like it. I just need to perfect the shape to get them in a nice circle. Okay, we're getting there. Let's keep going. We are getting there. Okay, so they're not all going to be perfect, but this is just basically a taste test, and I think I would invest in the bigger piping bags because so far it's been going good. And my family, when I told them that I'll be making this, got very excited. So if they enjoy it and I enjoy the process, I can see myself making this more often. Okay, so working with less of it at a time definitely was easier. And the two hands is necessary. Makes it easier to apply the pressure. Okay, let me grab out my second one. Okay, so the recipe did say I'm going to get 54 cookies out of this. This is not close to 54 cookies. I'm thinking that next time I would maybe try a slightly smaller size tip. Maybe that would make a difference. Maybe using a better piping bag would help that too, so that there's more evenly distributed. I don't know, but for now, we're going to trust this process. We're going to see how this tastes. So before we can put this into the oven, I'm going to get some flour into a measuring cup here. Don't need too much. And what we're going to do is I have my teaspoon here. I'm going to coat the bottom of it with it. And we're just going to press down a little bit in the center of the cookie. Make a little indent. Okay, so the first one didn't really do very good because it didn't really have the flour didn't have anything to stick on the bottom. But we're going to do this to all the cookies before they go into the oven. So I'm dipping it in the flour after each cookie because I see that the ones that I don't do it, I have a little bit of a hard time picking up the teaspoon. And what I see also is by applying the pressure when I'm going down, it is sort of sealing the cookie between the layers of the icing as I was coming inwards. Okay, my oven has already reached temperature, so this is going to go in for 10 to 12 minutes. Okay, my timer just went off. So I got my cooling racks out here. And I'm already learning something. Let me tell you what. We're going to let this cool over here. And in a few minutes, I'm going to do the next step and I'll show you what that is. But for now, what I'm learning is, number one, chill the batter before you pipe it. Because I feel like it would have a lot more definition coming out of the oven if it would be cold. And number two is I can definitely make them smaller and space them apart a bit more. Actually, no, if they're smaller, then I can still do 4 in a row and it'll be fine. Live and learn. It's my first time making these, so it's all a learning experience. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the cookie sheet so that it cools off faster. The next step will be making the ganache, but I want this to be almost completely cool before I start making it because I need this to be 100% cool before I start piping on the ganache. So I'll see you guys shortly when we go ahead and make that. Okay, so now to make the ganache, I have a pot here. We're going to put in a half a cup of whip and we're going to heat this up. While this is heating up, I'm going to chop some chocolate. I have over here some of these baking chocolate and I'm gonna chop that up. The recipe calls for 1.5 cups of chopped chocolate, so I measured 1 cup and I'm gonna chop it up and I'll see if it becomes more or less so I know how much I actually need to have the 1.5 cups of chopped chocolate. Okay, I'm gonna put this on a low flame so that it heats up very slowly so that it gives me time to do the chopping of the chocolate. Low heat, and we don't want this to come to a boil, we just want it to become hot. If you don't want to chop your chocolate, you can use chocolate chips as well. Okay, I'm gonna consider this good for now. I'm gonna put it back in the cup so we can see how much we got. Okay, I would say it's still the 1 cup. Okay, so we're gonna do an additional half a cup and that will be perfect. Okay, this is starting to bubble, tiny little bit, so I let it go a bit too far. I turned off the heat and now we're just gonna get the chocolate and pour it in. This was perfect timing because I literally just finished chopping it. Now we're gonna let this sit and we'll let the residual heat melt the chocolate for a minute or two and then I'll come and mix it in and help it dissolve the rest of the chocolate. Okay, this has been sitting for a few minutes now, so we're gonna mix it in. So you can see already how the chocolate is just melting right into it because of the heat. And we're going to make sure that it's nice and smooth before we remove it from the stovetop. And the recipe says to cool this so that we can pipe it so it stiffens up a little bit. And she writes that it could take 30 to 40 minutes to cool off to that point. Oh, this smells so good. I love chocolate ganache. I'm just making sure that all of the chocolate is melted. And this is looking great. Just a couple pieces still left. So I'm going to keep mixing it until I don't see them anymore. Okay. So I'm going to set it on the counter and we're going to check it in 30 minutes, roughly 30 minutes, to make sure, to check the consistency, because right now it's way too runny to put it in the piping bag and pipe it. Let me just check if she says to put it into a piping bag now or to wait. I know. So we have to let this cool and then transfer it. So we're going to let it sit over here and we'll come back to it soon. Okay, so it's been about 40 minutes and this is now a good consistency to pipe. It's nice and thick, and see how it's staying? That's what I think we need. So just like before, we're going to put this into a piping bag. So I've got a cup here. And this time I'll be using a piping bag. And I have the same thing that we did earlier. I have a piping tip. It's an open star again. I've got a smaller one this time. And I've got one of those pieces that go inside the bag. And I already cut off the tip of it. Gonna push it through. And now twist it in place. And again, just like before, we're gonna put it into the cup and fold over the top. I'm gonna pour this ganache into the piping bag. And we're gonna fold this back up. Now my piping tip set comes with such a little thingy to wrap the top up into. Do I know how to use this? Let me look at the listing, what they showed. Okay, so I think the proper way to use this is to just wrap it around this way. Let me see. Let's see. So basically we're gonna stretch it, wrap it around, and then the little arrow will loop through on the other side and secure it in place. Like that. Can you? It's kind of hard. It's not picking up. Now you can see it a little bit. Okay. And now we're gonna pipe little swirls in there. Let me see if she writes how to do this. Okay. So I think we're gonna do it the same way. Start from the outside and work your way in. So if this would have held up its height, the cookies, then the indent that we created before putting it into the oven would have been more prominent, and I would have piped this into that indent. But because they flattened out, I'm just gonna do it in the center of the cookie. And this is a pleasure to pipe. Can definitely use some practice with my piping skills. Okay, now before we let this harden too much, we're going to do just like before. Make little indents. And maybe I should have done this right away because they're already stiffening up. And the chocolate is sticking. I'm thinking, should I spray some oil spray? Let's see what happens now. No, I'm not liking that. Definitely not. Okay, let's just, I got a different teaspoon out because I don't want the oil. I think I'll get a paper towel and wipe it in between each one. now that this is done, we're gonna make the icing that will go in the center. So let me move, I'm gonna move this tray aside so I have space here to make this. But actually, before I go ahead and do that, I'm gonna get this out of the bag so it's not, so that I can rinse the tip to make it easier for cleanup. Okay, we're gonna start off the icing with 1 cup of confectionery sugar, but we're gonna sift it to make sure that there's no clumps. Shouldn't have put in all of it right away. And this is why you want to sift it, so that these clumps can be broken up. Now we're going to add 1 tablespoon of light corn syrup. And maybe I should have sprayed this. It would have been easier to get it all out. Well, I'll use my little spatula. And I guess I'll use this to combine this all together. Next is some vanilla. And now the recipe says to add 2 tablespoons of water. I'm going to start with 1. That was a little bit more. I'm going to combine this, and I'll add more if needed. And I think I'll add some color. I was thinking of leaving it just white, but it's not white. So I think I will add coloring to this. And I think I'll do the classic pink. So I'm going to get my coloring out before I add the additional tablespoon of water. We can definitely use it. And we'll be more careful this time not to over pour. And I've got my coloring here. I'll do 1 tiny little drop. And let's see what it'll look like. Let's combine this. I think I want the color just a bit more vibrant. I'm going to add a bit more red. And I think that was perfect. 2 little drops. Let's get another piping bag and another piping tip. We're going to do that again. Okay, so you know already how to do this, right? Cut off the tip. This time I'm using just a round tip. And we're going to do the same thing as before. Oh, I got a chocolatey. Still have chocolate on my hands. It's on the outside, so that'll be okay. Tighten that. Yeah. So for a runny consistency like that, it really is helpful to flip up the top so that it doesn't leak out as I'm filling it. You see how the tip is resting upwards? So that little fold there will help prevent it from leaking out until I'm ready to pipe. And we're going to pour this all into the bag. So I was expecting this process to feel like it was taking a lot longer. I expected it to take up most of my day. But I started this about 8:30ish, 9 o'clock is when I started making the dough. And now it's 11:50 and this is done. I mean, not done, but we're on to the last step. So we're going to seal this up with this thingy again. Let me bring the second tray back. You see, the one that I used the oil looks like I can't even fill. Let me make another. Let me try this again. Okay, now it'll go in. Okay. So what we're gonna do now is we're just gonna let some of this icing drip into the well, not overfill it. And if needed, if you want it to set faster, you can place this in the fridge to help it set. This was so much fun. And I did not expect it to feel this easy. Now this indent was not very good. It's gonna drip off the cookie. And I can be a lot more consistent with all my piping skills. I think I will just leave it out here to set. I currently don't have space in my fridge to put this in. And I know that I can probably put it in my basement fridge, but I don't want to walk downstairs holding this. I would be afraid that the cookies would slip and fall. So I'll just let it sit over here until the icing hardens up. So guys, this is done. I'm gonna let this stiffen up. We'll let the top create like a crust, like a seal on it. I'm gonna plate these up and we'll see you then. I am so excited with these. I am quite impressed. Not perfect, but I'm quite impressed. But I'm gonna leave my impressions for later. Okay, these have not completely set. So I have a tray here that I'm gonna put it into. Okay, these are gonna sit on the counter. These I'm gonna freeze. First flash freeze it before I put it into a bag. I am gonna taste one. Let's see. Wow, really, really good. Delicious. The icing is holding up nicely. It's still a little bit runny, but that's okay. And the next time I make it, I'll just perfect the cookie. But other than that, perfection. And it tastes delicious. It's just the look of it. So this was a hit. I am definitely gonna enjoy these cookies, and I will be attempting these again. Okay guys, so I had a great time making these with you. Thank you for joining me. And if you enjoyed this video, consider hitting the subscribe button and the like button. And if you want to see more between now and my next video, I'll pop some on the screen for you right now. And I hope to see you next time.